for both the governments, for both leaders, this is the most important relationship they have, the U.S.-China relationship. And they have ambitions for this year. I mean, they want to meet Xi Jinping, Donald Trump, 2 to 3, even 4 times this year. And there's a lot to talk about. I think we'll see a big focus on trade, supply chain, and the commercial relationship.
Do you think it's going to be productive? Do you think there's going to be an actual deliverable coming out of it? Because that takes a lot of groundwork to ensure that happens before the leaders get to that point. And do you think that has been done?
Well, it's an unusual summit in this respect. The person leading the preparations for President Trump is not the Secretary of State, the National Security Advisor, or the Secretary of Defense. It's the Secretary of the Treasury. And Secretary Bessent has developed, I think, a very effective relationship with the key Chinese interlocutor, and that's Vice Premier He Feng, who is both very experienced. He oversees the central bank, the finance ministry, the commerce ministry, but he also has a close personal relationship of 40 plus years with President Xi Jinping. And Secretary Bessent and Vice Premier He Feng have been meeting both virtually and together pretty consistently for the last 15 months. And I think their ambition, let's see if they can accomplish this, would be to bring stability to the trade and supply chain relationship. Can they agree to a freeze or a truce on tariffs so that neither side will raise tariffs over the course of this year and hopefully into next year? Can they agree not to have a supply chain war of the type they had in 2025, so a supply chain truce? Can they agree in general, and Secretary Bessent, I think, has been very persuasive about this, that we should not decouple this big trade relationship in goods and services, but we'll have to de-risk in certain dual-use technologies. That, to me, is a very sensible policy. If they can accomplish that and have the Chinese agree to a major buy of American agriculture, soybeans, pork products, fishery products, that will be, I think, a good summit in the economic realm for President Trump.
I want to draw on your experience having participated in some of these leader summits before, and I'm curious what the Chinese hope to get out of this. What have you observed about the way that President Xi approaches meetings like these and his advisors as well?
Well, first, they want no surprises. And what really struck me as I worked on these 3 big summit meetings between 2022 and 2024 for President Biden with President Xi, the Chinese want no surprises. They want everything to be worked out, everything. Strategic, tactical decisions before the 2 leaders walk in the room. They then want the 2 leaders in almost a highly stylized situation flanked by 7 or 8 people on each side to have a conversation about the agreements and about the disagreements. But they don't want haggling at the table between President Xi and his counterpart. So I think that is going to hold true because that's what the Chinese insisted on when I was working on this relationship. I also think the Chinese want stability with the United States. The Chinese have a number of economic strengths, but they're facing some internal tribulations in the Chinese economy that requires a period of stability. They don't want a sense of crisis with the United States in the immediate year or 2 ahead. And so I think I'll bet that we'll see some progress on the commercial side. Can they even go further? Could they agree that in addition to our tech firms competing ferociously on AI, who's going to be first mover, first adapter, could they also agree that our countries need to be working together on the worst aspects of AI? For instance, if look at the Mythos model from Anthropic, could cyber terrorists, could cyber criminals get their hands on that very destructive technology? That might argue for the U.S. and China to begin a discussion about how we and the 2 of us and other countries should be working to balance against those kinds of threats. So in a way, this could be a very important meeting if all of that is discussed.
The backdrop of this, of course, is the war in Iran. China gets 45 to 50% of its crude through the strait. I'm wondering how involved or not involved in Iran China has been. You've kind of seen them weigh in here and there, but you feel like they're taking a back seat and just kind of watching it play out. There was that great Economist cover with Xi in focus kind of behind Trump, who was shouting, and the cut line was, never get in the way when your enemy is making a mistake. Is that how they're viewing Iran in this conflict?
I think it's a mixed bag. You're right on the one hand that the Chinese have been messaging across the world, we're the stable country. Our leader hasn't invaded anybody. Our leader believes in the global order. You can count on us to be a consistent, reliable partner. That's the Chinese message, juxtaposing Xi Jinping with President Trump and everything that's happened from Venezuela to Greenland to questioning Canadian sovereignty to warring with the NATO allies to the Iran war. And I think that the Chinese have been playing on that and making some hay, particularly in the global south. But on the other hand, I think the Chinese have taken a hit of sorts in their credibility. They did not in any way, shape, or form stand up for Iran in this crisis from February 28th forward. They didn't stand up for Venezuela. They couldn't politically, diplomatically. They obviously couldn't militarily and wouldn't do that. So I think they look a little bit unreliable because Venezuela and Iran were strategic partners of China. In addition to that, it's very interesting that President Putin has been much more vocal in supporting Iran than President Xi Jinping has. President Putin delivered a personal message of condolence when the Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei was killed on the first day of the war. The Chinese didn't do that. And I think the Chinese have been messaging they don't want to live in the law of the jungle, and that's the hit against the United States. They've also been messaging the Strait of Hormuz needs to open. China depends on that. The global economy does. They've been very worried, the Chinese, about their capital investments and trade with the Gulf Arab states, not just with Iran in terms of energy. So I think the Chinese, like President Trump, want to see some kind of agreement with Iran to open the strait to commercial traffic where Iran's not the tollkeeper.
I'm sure you've seen the photograph of the Iranian foreign minister and the Chinese foreign minister meeting in Beijing in recent days. And I'm curious what message you think that sends. There was this back and forth about a potential one-page memo of understanding between the U.S. and Iran. And I noted that Iran thanked the Chinese for their 4-point proposal. Are they stepping up to play a bigger role here in trying to resolve the conflict in the Middle East?
I don't think they want to be the middleman, but they want an agreement and they want the war to end and the strait to open and energy to flow. I also thought that Foreign Minister Wang Yi, a very experienced diplomat, was sending 2 messages when Foreign Minister Araghchi of Iran came to see him a couple of days ago in Beijing. Message number 1, of course, China supports Iran. They're strategic partners. China does not support what the U.S. and Israel have done in beginning this war back on the 28th of February. But on the other hand, I thought there were some subtle messages from the Chinese during the Araghchi visit. You need to negotiate seriously. We think there should be serious negotiations to enable the ceasefire to come about. They haven't really focused on the nuclear issue of the highly enriched uranium, but they've been laser focused, the Chinese, on the strait. The Chinese, when they think of power and they think of their global power, they always think trade, economics, manufacturing, exports, free flow of goods first, because that sustains this huge manufacturing export-led economy that is giving China the little growth that it has now.
Before we let you go, I do want to ask you about Taiwan. This American president hasn't been very vocal on that issue, and some Taiwan supporters are concerned that that might be something he'd be willing to negotiate away in the room to pursue some of those other goals, or not negotiate away, but not send strong signals that America will have Taiwan's back in case of a Chinese invasion. Do you think this president will militarily support Taiwan if that happens? And are you concerned what happens with that issue at this summit?
It's very clear the Chinese want to push President Trump on Taiwan. Foreign Minister Wang Yi came out and said that after a phone call with Secretary Rubio a couple of days ago, that Taiwan is going to be the red line issue, that the United States should not cross Chinese red lines. That's a very familiar statement to me. They made that statement to me hundreds of times. And it's important that President Trump, I think, do 2 things. Number 1, honor the Taiwan Relations Act, law of the land of the United States. We have to supply Taiwan with defensive military technology. And we have never, over 50 years, negotiated those military sales with the Chinese in Beijing. And there was a beginning of that when President Trump and President Xi had a discussion about that a couple of months ago. I think that's a dangerous area. Number 2, we should put the pressure on the Chinese government. They're the ones that are threatening to invade Taiwan. They're the ones who have simulated blockades military blockades of Taiwan Island. And the rest of the world does not want to see a war. They don't want to see the Taiwan Strait closed, consider the impact on the global economy. So I think we should be on the offensive, warning the Chinese government to be more reasonable, to meet with the Taiwan leadership, which they haven't done for 10 years, and kind of turn the tables on President Xi and on his team. I think Taiwan will definitely be on the Chinese agenda for this meeting, and I hope President Trump will maintain our 50-year one China policy, where we fulfill these military obligations, defensive sales of technology to the Taiwan authorities.